welcome to another episode of Our Point of View Talk Show. We are so glad that you all could join us. Today, we are going to be talking about bringing awareness to verbal and emotional abuse. But before we start talking about it, let's say hello to our hosts. We have with us this evening, Captain Eric Jackson. Hey, Cap.
What's happening? How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing good. You doing all right?
Doing wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And also we have with us Miss Lynette Jackson. Hey, Lynette.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Lynette.
Hey.
And our special guest for this evening is Miss Sharice Stevenson. Hi, Miss Stevenson. How are you?
Good evening, everybody. Hi.
And she's coming to us all the way from New York.
That's a good thing. What part of New York you from?
Well, I was born in the Bronx, but I reside in Brooklyn, New York.
The Bronx in the Brooklyn.
Don't be trying to talk about her accent.
Hey, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Nothing wrong with it.
Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about abuse, emotional and verbal abuse. So, Sharice, tell us a little bit about yourself. Just a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Okay. Well, again, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me on your show today. My name is Sharice Stevenson. I am an author of Unnamed and Unwanted, the trilogy. I am a licensed evangelist at my church, which is Divine Destiny Cathedral, under Bishop Jones and First Lady Jones. And my overall life goals are to travel the world, bringing awareness to verbal and emotional abuse, to open my own facility, and to be a philanthropist.
Wow. Okay. So let's start talking about bringing awareness of verbal and emotional abuse. Why is it something that you want to do?
Oh, it's something that I want to do because it was something that I went through as a child, and I feel like it doesn't have a platform like domestic abuse or police brutality or even animal cruelty. And I think it's very, very important, especially because it's connected to mental health. So I want to help bring exposure to it. I feel I'm learning as I'm on my journey of healing and wholeness. A lot of people identify with it, not knowing that's something that they need to deal with or confront or they need healing from. So I feel like we need to talk about it more.
So tell us, what happened to you when you were younger?
Whew. We only got an hour, huh?
Yeah. Reader's Digest version, please.
Reader's Digest. Well, gee whiz. I found out as a teenager that my parents were not my parents. That's one part of the story. So that was damaging. And my mom who raised me didn't like me. The woman who birthed me didn't want me. I was not the favorite child in the house. So there was a lot of negativity. There was a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of emotional abuse. I didn't know that's what it was at that time when, growing up. I learned that as an adult. And it wasn't nice. There was no support from my mom. There was no support. There was no love. There was no encouragement. There was no nurturing. So it really wasn't pretty, if I can just keep it simple.
So why do you think that was? I mean, were you a bad student in school? Did you give them a lot of problems? Why do you think that was?
No, I was not a bad student in school. Let's just make that perfectly clear. I was sassy. But I wasn't bad, but I was very defensive, which led me to be, I don't want to say combative, but I fought a lot to defend myself and to protect myself. What led to that? At that time, I didn't know, but I've learned after I wrote my books that in a nutshell, it was jealousy. My mother was jealous of me. She was a second wife, and I looked like the first wife, which sounds crazy, but it's complex dysfunction, if I can say it that way. My parents were my grandparents, but I didn't know that they were my grandparents. I'm gonna try to keep this simple. So that they were my parents, and I did not know that until I was about 14 years old. So my grandfather, his daughter is my biological mother. Okay.
Okay.
So you were raised by your grandparents and not your parents.
Right.
And that was toxic. They were
Very.
because because you looked like their daughter.
Mother. Yeah.
And I mean,
Right.
you look like your mother, which was their daughter, right?
I look like my biological's mother's mother. The woman who raised me was a second wife, not the first wife. The first wife was my biological's mother.
So your grandparents, who was it their son or the daughter? I'm trying to understand which side of your family.
It was the daughter.
The
It's
daughter.
daughter's parent.
Daughter.
Right.
Okay.
Right. My biological mother,
Yeah.
father
Yes.
was right. That's the lineage. It's her father, it's her, and it's me.
Okay. Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Her dad, her mom was my grandparents. They
Gotcha.
separated. Then there was wife number two.
Okay.
I
So
was raised with wife number two.
Gotcha.
Never met wife number one.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So wife number two didn't like me because I looked like wife number one.
Right.
So it was just a lot of jealousy and a lot of stuff of that nature. And I learned that maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
mother was in the house with you, being raised with you as your sister?
She was there for a period of time, approximately about 6 years, because my dad had a heart attack. So she came to see him and ended up staying there for a little while. And the whole time she was there, I did not know who she was.
Hmm.
And how did you find out?
Ooh, Miss Jackie and staff.
The staff.
Man, y'all need to buy the book. Real quick, right? My parents, right, went to Atlantic City. It was me and my oldest brother in the house, and my mom said that when I finish my chores, I can go outside. This woman, who was like an aunt to me, prohibited me from going outside after I did what I was supposed to do. Her and I ended up fighting in the house, and my brother, who was in the house, broke up the fight and told me to get off my mother. And that's how I found out who she was.
How old were you?
I was 14.
Okay.
I was 14. And I waited up for my parents to come home from Atlantic City. And they came home. They wanted to talk about their winnings. I wanted to talk about this woman who my brother said was my mother.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I was going to ask you, so did that well, obviously it did, but it sunk in right then, or was there any time of reflection like, did he What you say? Like,
Yeah, that happened, and then I couldn't. Please don't laugh at me, y'all. I did have that reaction, Mr. Jackson, but
mhm.
I was more concerned about going outside with my friends. So
Understandable. That makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean,
know,
you were a kid. You were a
I'm a
kid.
teenager. It's the '80s. I want to go
Yeah.
I want to go outside.
Right.
So, but I promised myself I was going to deal with it when I got back because it didn't make sense to talk to them. I want to talk to my parents. So, yes, Mr. Jackson, for a brief moment, probably while I was in the shower getting dressed.
Right.
So can you try to explain a little bit more why you think you had the toxic relationship with your mom or your grandmother? How did this happen? So you said jealousy, okay, but it's not something that just happened overnight. It just, took time. You're saying jealousy and because you look like the other mother or the other wife, but
Miss Jackie, it doesn't make sense. And I don't know if I can answer that in detail because that conversation of why never happened. Both women are deceased, and nobody wanted to talk about it. It's like, okay, so you found out, and so what? And they moved it right along. So they left me with my thoughts, my emotions, my questions. Nobody wanted to talk about it. It is what it is. So what? So be it. Go outside or go to bed. That was it. So I never had the opportunity to really get to the core of why. But this is what I've discovered and was shared with me after I published my first book. And it didn't happen until 2017 when I actually got an answer, a portion of an answer to the why.
So when did you start feeling like, you were 14, so you were a kid. When did you start feeling like it was something, it was, I guess, a problem with you and you having to get it out or try to, when did you, I don't want to say grow up,
Yeah.
but when did you think about like,
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I want to say maybe in my 20s.
Okay.
I would like to say being a Christian, going to church helped a lot.
Yeah.
With that. I was in alignment with what was being said and how I should act. I love to fight. I was always ready to fight. And I'm like, but I'm not supposed to feel like, why am I so angry all the time? And I would fight to the core. Like, I should have been arrested a few times. We just gonna be transparent. It was bad. And I couldn't understand. Fighting is fighting, but there was such an underlining rage in that. And I didn't like it. And I didn't like how it made me feel. I couldn't understand how I can go from being jovial and pleasant and to wanting to kill somebody so bad. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know how to channel it. I didn't know how to stop it. And I really was coming to a place where I wasn't liking myself.
Mhm.
So it had to be in my 20s.
Were you close to your dad and family, any of the family members or, during that time? I'm just.
My dad, but my dad was passive. To be quite honest, she spoke to him the same way she spoke to me, but she didn't speak to him as bad as she did to me. And my dad just wanted peace. My dad worked and then my dad went out with the guys. That's how he dealt with it. And, but I'm a child. I can't go out with the guys. I can't go out with the girls.
Right.
So when he wasn't home, that's when I would get the butt of the abuse, So, it was, I had my dad. I would talk to my dad. I would try to talk to my dad and he would guide me to through the scriptures. You don't want to say too much. You don't want to, because that's your mom at the end of the day, So he kept it scriptured. He kept it biblical to that effect.
So Sharice, when you talk about your dad, you're talking about your grandfather, correct?
Correct. I
Now,
have
did
no
you know your
idea.
biological father?
I have no idea who my biological father is.
So you don't know anybody on your father's side of the family? Okay,
No,
okay.
Do you have an interest in finding out?
no.
Okay,
No.
gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Now, when you talk about your verbal abuse, what type of verbal abuse did you get? And from who?
It came from my mom. I can remember as far back as being about 10 years old was the first time I actually heard my mother call me out my name. And I heard her say some really horrible things about me to someone else. You know, she had company or whatever, and was just talking about me like she didn't know me, like she wasn't my mother. And, and I was like, hello, I'm standing right here, you know?
Right.
And she was just very, very comfortable with, and I'm like, but I'm your child. Why would you talk about me in such a manner? That was the first time. I don't know how many other times she has said it outside of my presence or whatever. It seems like it was very regular, but the first time I heard her call me out my name, I was 10, and she called me a bitch. And what followed that was just comments of, oh, she gets on my nerves, she makes me sick, I can't wait for her to get out of my house. Oh, she ain't gonna be nothing. She just, it was just, I'm like, how could you say that about your child?
Now, this was the
Because-
grandmother, correct?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Now, did the mother talk to you before you found out that she was your biological mom? Did she speak to you that way as well? Or was it just
No.
the grandmother? No.
No, but she didn't stop it either. For the short period of time that she lived with us, she didn't stop it either. So she might as well. But then again, I guess she felt like she didn't have a place to say anything because she didn't want me from jump. So I was supposed to have been aborted. My oldest brother, she had my oldest brother, and then she had 3 abortions, and then I was scheduled to be number 4. She didn't want me. So, but the doctor told her that she was ruining her body. So she had to carry me. So she birthed me and she left me in the hospital. And that's how my grandparents came and got me. And that's how I ended up staying with them. So that's how you get the title of Unnamed and Unwanted for my books. She didn't even name me. Yeah, she didn't even name me. She literally pushed and left, like really. One of my cousins named me. So
So she didn't see you whenever she went to visit with her parents? Or she didn't visit you?
probably did, yeah, but like I said, I don't know who she is. She knew who I was.
She knew who you were.
Right. But she chose the streets.
Yeah.
You know, she chose the streets. She didn't want us. I have 3 other siblings who have their own testimony. She didn't want us. And the only reason she had them was because of their father. We don't have the same fathers.
Mhm.
She left me. At least she did try to raise them. But when she didn't want them, she put them in foster care. So I have 3 other siblings under me, and they have their own testimonies of stories as well. So yeah.
How is your relationship with them?
Not good. Not good. There's 3. We're cordial. I'm close with one of them. I have 2 more brothers and I have a sister. I get along with the youngest brother. The other brother and my sister, we're not close at all. We're cordial, but we're not close.
And they're in New York too?
No. My sister stayed with her foster family and they moved to Virginia. So they raised her from a child. So she stayed with them. That's her family. I'm her sister, but that's her family, and I totally understand that. No disrespect at all. My youngest brother he's upstate New York, and the other one that none of us really deal with, we don't know where he is. And my oldest brother is deceased. He died in 2016.
So, Ms. Sharice, how did this affect you with your relationships with your friends or in love life? Or how did the mental, the verbal and emotional abuse that you went through, how did it affect you in your relationships?
Oh, I love life. You ain't got enough time for that one. My friends, those that were close enough to me to know what was going on and what happened, very, 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 very good to me. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't even be here. My friends became my family. Love life, I think I can say this now because I'm on my journey of healing and being whole. My love life, I think I displayed love incorrectly. And I say that to say I was looking for a void to be filled because I didn't get that type of love from my mom. So I was trying to give what I felt I should have had or I didn't get, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I was lying in my affections, it was just distributed incorrectly, because instead of loving somebody so they can love me back, I should have been loving myself first. And that's what was missing. I was so battered verbally that I didn't know how to love myself. So I really didn't know who I was. I was great in school. I graduated with honors. I was in church. I'm doing it. But who was Sharice? I didn't know. I didn't know how to celebrate myself. I didn't really know how to love myself. I really didn't know how to appreciate myself. Yeah, I can do hair and I can do nails and I dress really well, but that's external. Internally, I didn't know. So, Ms. Jackson, you have a question?
I was gonna say, when did you decide to write the book? When did you decide that, okay, it's time for me to let it out and tell the story?
Oh, that was not my choice.
Oh, okay.
That was absolutely not my choice. I had no idea. It was not a desire. It wasn't a, I'm gonna tell my story. I'm gonna write a book and I'm gonna tell what happened to me, but not at all.
Yeah, because
it wasn't a desire.
Just forget about it.
Huh?
Yeah, it seemed like something like that. You want to just forget about it.
Yeah, it was very,
you don't want to
very
share
dormant. Yeah, very dormant, very, I didn't even want to think, I was just trying to exist. I was just trying to live. I was just trying to focus. I left my house at 19, no money, no job, living at a friend's house. So I got myself together. So this was not a thought. I was in church, Miss Jackson, and it dropped in my spirit that you have to write a book. And that was in 2009. And I was like, I don't know about writing. Sometimes you think you're hearing stuff, but you know what you heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, I was like, I don't know about writing no book. I ain't writing no book. And I try to put it away, right? So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna write a book, what am I gonna write about?
Right.
I had no idea, none. But it wouldn't let me go. It wouldn't let me go. But it's so funny, when I say this on my own platform, don't ask for God to do something or make a way and then get mad about how he tells you how to do it. Right?
That's
so
right.
remember, I told y'all I didn't like how I was feeling. I didn't like who I was becoming. I was always angry. I was always full of rage. Then
Yeah.
I'm hearing this still voice telling me to write a book.
Mm.
I don't want to write a book, you know. But I try to walk away from it. I try to get away from it, and it wouldn't let me go. So I try to hide from the book. I put it away. You know how they say, you know, you can hide, you put something in a good place. I put it away in a good place, and then you forget where the good place is.
Yes.
I've lost so many things, but I did not lose the outline to this book. Okay, so I found the book. I picked it back up in 2014. So from 2009 to 2014, here we are again with this book because it wouldn't let me go. So I started writing it in 2014, and God really gave me the blueprint. He gave me the outline. He gave me, he connected me to some great people that helped me to decide what a title is and how to go about it. And it's not structured like your average book. It doesn't have a table of contents and chapters, and because that's not what God gave me. And I picked it back up in 2014, and I was angry and I cried through it, and I had to relive some stuff over again, because in order for the reader to feel what I felt, I had to feel it first. So it was hard, but I got it done. I was supposed to went to publishing in 2016. That didn't happen because my brother died. So I took that as a sign that it wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
It wasn't supposed to happen, but that was false. That was just me. But I pushed through and I got it done, and I published the first book in 2017. And it wasn't until I published the book that I realized that that was the beginning of my healing process.
Makes sense.
In order for me to confront and conquer, I couldn't do it to the people because the people are dead.
Right.
So I had to confront and conquer through the writing of my books.
Yeah. That doesn't
Okay.
necessarily mean if you would have talked to them, it would have worked. So, but
Right.
go ahead, Jacqueline.
Right.
Right. Before they passed, did you have an opportunity to talk to them, to tell them that you forgive them, or, you know, did you have an opportunity to get closure, or no?
Not with them. No, I was too angry.
No.
I was too angry. When I walked out of my mother's house at 19, I walked. It was too much. It was just too much.
Okay. So at what age did you start your healing process?
What age?
Or are you still in? Are you still in it?
I'm still here. I'm still healing. I'm
Yeah.
doing much
No, what
better.
age did you start? What age did
What
you
age
start?
did
What
I
age did you say
start?
it's
I would
time for me to heal?
Yeah, I would say I didn't realize it until, total healing, like just stop faking the funk and the facade of being happy when I wasn't. I would say after I published a book, like very, very recently. But after I published the first book, which was 2017. So at 2017, I was 47. Yeah. Very recent. Very, very recent. Very recent.
So you were angry and mad at your mother and your grandmother all this time?
Yes.
Okay. Did you
Yes.
seek counseling? Did you look for any help anywhere? Your pastor, counselor?
No. I just was in church every Sunday, on time, on the usher board, on the choir, every Sunday. I just believed that God was going to do it. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, outside of church, if that makes sense. You just go to church and you're told to pray. You're told to pray about it, and God will answer prayer and that thing. And so that's what I didn't know, that I had to do my part, which was go to therapy, seek counseling, talk about it. So now that I know, I do. I finally found the therapist that I trust. So I actually want to start therapy. But the healing started when I published the first book, because as I was writing, I realized what was wrong, what was going on, and I realized that this was the beginning of God answering my prayer when I started first telling him that I didn't like myself. And I wanted to know why I was so angry. So yeah. Very recently.
Okay, so let's start talking about the books, because we have some viewers on our Facebook page. You want to know where they can purchase the book, and everybody's saying how powerful of a story this is. So let's talk about the book. You have 3 books, and they're all, the first phase of your healing, the second phase, the third phase. Let's talk a little bit about the books.
Sure. My first baby is, can you see this? It's Unnamed and Unwanted.
Yeah.
And this is What Am I Here For? Right? If you can see the cover, that is a picture of a birth certificate, which I thought would be very, very important, because on my birth certificate, my name is not on my birth certificate.
Oh.
Yeah, it says female Stevenson. That's what it says.
Really?
So when you were born, your name was Female Stevenson.
Female Stevenson. Yeah,
Even when
she didn't name me. I've purchased another one because I had to go down to, what is that, Vital Records?
Right.
Yeah.
And I had to bring ID and stuff so they can see that my name is actually Cherise. So they did issue me an updated birth certificate, but I have my original and my name is not on it. So that was my first baby, Unnamed and Unwanted. What Am I Here For? And then here go my second baby. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Unnamed and Unwanted, The Possibilities of Me. Right? And then my third baby, Unnamed and Unwanted, I Know Who I Am, The Process to Positivity.
Interesting. It's like steps.
It really is. I'm so glad you said that, Miss Jackson. Because the first one is the first book, right?
Yeah.
It tells of my family, what happened, what I went through, what my mother did, things of that nature, right?
Right.
Mhm.
The second book deals with what happens when you're emotionally and verbally abused, how broken you are. So if you're broken, then you're easily manipulated and you're easily, vulnerable to anything. And somebody say, oh, you cute, I like you. Oh, then he must love me. That whole mindset, that whole concept of, horrible, absolutely horrible. And then my third baby, this is Process to Positivity. This is a book of affirmations, aspirations, and inspirations. It's positive quotes, positive scriptures, and then there's affirmations that help break down negativity, and then we fill it with positivity. So it's not your average, I am strong, I am enough, I am beautiful, because you really can't grasp that level of affirmation until you really unlearn what you've been learning all your life. So if I can just glance at one of the affirmations, because one I get stuck with. Okay, so here's one that says, new day, new blank. In the book, the aspirations is written in such a way, if you can see it, I start a sentence and there's lines in the book and you get to fill it in because you got to speak over yourself, right? Because you become what you say, right? So if you having a new day, you got to decree and declare it. Like I had another one that talked about love, and it says, I love blank about myself. And that is one of the hardest affirmations for me, because I'm just now at the age of 51, learning how to love myself. So this book is really important to me because it breaks down, it's helping me break down the negative conversations
Mhm.
that was said to me,
Mhm.
or the verbiage, the verbal abuse and the emotional abuse. Is helping unlearn and undo that. And I'm filling it up with positivity. And I actually have a platform on Saturdays where I do this with a group of people, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. So those are the 3 books. It's Unnamed and Unwanted, the trilogy, and they are available on Amazon. It's paperback and Kindle. And hopefully this year there actually will be Audible. So I'm working on that as well.
It's funny you should say today, I've heard that word twice, unlearn. I've heard it
Mm.
twice today. I heard it this morning when somebody said, I have to unlearn the things I experienced and what I felt and the ways in my actions from it. I had to unlearn to not be so hard based off my
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
I had to unlearn to not be so angry because of
Yeah.
my past. I heard that
Yes.
twice today, to unlearn.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
and it's very hard to do.
very hard to do. And I believe that's why God had me to write that affirmation book the way that it is,
Mhm.
because you don't realize what you have to unlearn until you realize you can't say these affirmations.
That's
You be
right.
like, why I can't say that about myself?
Yeah.
Why it makes you that's why I say we use it as a mirror, not to
Yeah.
look at ourselves, but to look within
Mhm.
ourselves. And that's what we do on Saturday mornings. And it's been amazing. This is our journey, our process to positivity. And I feel better since I started a year ago. And it's helping. It really does help. You just got to do your work and stick with the process.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, now you're working on becoming a life strategist and having
Yeah.
your own counseling center.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that. What are your plans for that?
Well, this summer I haven't been to school in years. So I'm going to
done. It can be done.
I know I don't look like it, right? I'm going to first this summer, I'm actually getting ready to enroll in a online certified course for life strategists. I'm gonna start there so I can get back into being disciplined about school again, because that's a whole nother level of discipline. And then from there, I'm actually going to go back to college and master in psychology. It may be behavioral psychology, but I'm definitely going to go back and get my bachelor's and my degrees in psychology and apply that with my certification of life strategist and see where we go from there.
That's awesome. So you want to help, is it you want to help women or you want to help men? You want to help older? You want to help young? What would the course be with you were going to help people? You're going to start with the younger ones because you're going to need to, teach them as opposed to the older ones who are already set in their ways. So who is it that you would like to help with your story?
Everybody. Everybody. I want the young because I don't want them, to the best of my ability, to ever experience that level of nastiness. I want the old because, again, we got to unlearn some things. But this is just who I am. That's unacceptable to me. Let's deal with that and see why you think that's just the way you am. So I'm here for everybody, the young, the old, the men, the women, and I really want the men. I've had quite a few men, well-educated, careered, married, children that have identified with verbal and emotional abuse. And I was blown away by it. I was like, wow. So I'm here for everybody that want help, everybody that want to talk it through. I am here for you.
Okay. So you want to talk a little bit more about your podcast?
Oh, Solid Saturdays?
Solid Saturday.
Okay, well, I have quite a few, but I'm focused on Solid Saturdays. Solid Saturdays, which once again, let me show my baby. Solid Saturdays is this book. And when I was writing, I published the first book. And as I was beginning to write the second book, I had a meeting with my leaders because I had an idea, but I didn't know how to really put it into action. So I had a meeting with my leaders, and my bishop said something that was just so simple, but so, oh my goodness. And he simply said, when you write your book, in your book as the victor, because you're no longer the victim.
No longer a victim.
And I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that? Right? So actually, let me show both of them. Actually, these two books, totally different concepts, right? I wrote both of them at the same time. I literally wrote two books at the same time. And they both got published together. And my house was a paper mill. I had paper, notes, printouts, everywhere. But my bishop said to end as a victor, which led to this book, which led to my platform of Solid Saturdays. And the definition of solace in its simplest terms is peace, or place of peace. So we come on Saturdays, Facebook Live at 8 a.m. and we go through the book. The foundation of the book was written on the off the back of, if you do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit or part of your lifestyle. Be it good or be it bad, but we're focused on the good. So I voted on that concept. If you do something for 21 days, it should become a part of your daily routine. Right. So the book itself is written for 21 days. But I come on Saturdays. So we've been doing it for 21 weeks, intervals of 21 weeks. And there's positive quotes, which are aspirations, and we read it and we go over it and we talk about what it means. We break it down and we talk about how to apply it. And then we go on to inspirations, which are positive scriptures. And we talk about it and we apply it. And I make it very relatable, because you never know who's going to come across your platform. Some may be saved, some may not be saved. The word is for everybody, So I try to keep it relatable and make it understandable so everybody can understand about this process to positivity. And then, like I showed previously, we do the affirmations, which were strategically written for the individual, because this is what you have to decree and declare over yourself. This is what you have to speak over yourself. This was designed to combat negativity and fill it with positivity. And so this is where we grow and we get encouraged and we get our strength, and we become, remember that children's book, The Little Engine That Could? We become the little engines that could. We're like, I think I can, I know I can, we get it done. And it's really been helpful. One of my friends, and I do have permission to share, her testimony, childhood friend. She was one of the people that was with me when I was going through what I was dealing with. She was married. She wasn't happy. She got a divorce and she was dead set against marriage. She'll have a friend, you do what we do and blah, 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 blah. But she was not, she hated the concept, the institution of marriage. She was done. She was over it. Finished. Her kids was going to live happily ever after. I started doing Solid Saturdays. Could you tell me why she's engaged now? Okay, great. She done cried. Yeah, she done cried. She done got her breakthrough. We done talked about it. She's engaged. I'm actually planning her wedding. She's getting married this year. So, and I love telling her story because I've been there. I've been there, just like she loves telling my story because she's been there. So we see our before and our after, and we are each other's witness to it. that, you know, if the process, you got to stick to the process, you know, it worked, it's working, and we just got to do our part. But that's what we do on Saturdays. It's called Solid Saturdays. It's on Facebook Live. And you see this cute face every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Yeah.
So what type of questions do your viewers ask you? Because you talk about your story. So what type of questions do they ask you?
They rarely ask questions. They take what I say, they apply it.
So it's more
No
like
one-
a discussion.
Yeah, it's part of a discussion. And just like with you guys right here, I am very open, I am very transparent, and I think I am one of my own hardest critics. And God has blessed me to be such a person of influence that if I say it's okay, it's okay. If I say it's not okay, it's not okay. If I say it works, it works. If I say it don't work, it don't work. So I get a lot of people that oh, I didn't know that, you know, me too. I've been feeling like that, and I was wondering what was wrong with me. I get that kind of feedback, you know, but no one's ever really asked questions until I met you guys.
You don't encourage them to ask questions or to share their stories?
They share their story. They know they can ask questions. Maybe I need to put it out there if they want to. I just assumed that they would. Maybe that's my fault. But they're more than welcome to. I welcome the questions because I'm learning and you're learning, and I'm not offended. I'm talking about it is helping me heal.
Right.
You know, and that was one of the things that I did share with my audience. I'm able to talk about this stuff now without being angry, without being bitter, without wanting to be vindictive, not being hateful. And that's a sure sign of healing, forgiveness, growth, maturity. Yeah. Even though I wasn't able to say it to them to their face, and if they were here today, I would, because I'm in a better place now. I understand now. I just told my audience I was one of those children that had to know why. I was a kid in the class, I always had to ask why. Right. So now that I have the answer to my why, to the best of my ability, I'm okay now. Okay. I'm good now. So, you know, I've forgiven them in my heart. My heart is not hardened to them. And I thank God for that, because then I wouldn't be the proper help to my audience and for those to come.
So how can someone reading your book relate to verbal or emotional from a different aspect?
I'm not fully understanding your question. How could they relate?
Yeah, I mean, if it's the verbal abuse or the emotional abuse, how can they, you know, put two and two together and know that that's something that they're going through? You know, because you don't hear that much of verbal abuse or emotional abuse. You hear of child abuse or sexual abuse,
right?
You know, or domestic violence. You hear something like that, but verbal and emotional abuse is a part of those as well. So how can they know if they're actually going through that too?
But first of all, no one should be comfortable with anybody talking negatively to them, you know, or being disrespectful, right? There's no
that seems to be the norm more so than not.
You see it. And you know why it's becoming normal, Miss Jackie? Because people are not loving themselves like they should. Right. Everybody you want to be in a relationship so bad, or you want somebody to be your friend so bad, or you want somebody to like you so bad that now we're to a place where we just accept anything and everything.
Right.
Right. And just like I was saying,
Yep.
something felt off. And I think it starts with you, honestly. You know when something is right, you know when something is wrong.
Right.
Like, you know, like I said, I wasn't liking myself. Like, why am I like this? Why am I always angry? Why am I so comfortable in this manner? That's a sign. Sometimes you just have to go with your gut, and then you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, well, why am I comfortable with being called out my name or being talked to this way, or go sit down, go shut up, go, you know, it starts with you. You just have to I don't know. That's why I'm going back to school, Miss Jackie. It's
The cycle.
It's a cycle. It's a lack of self-love. It's a lack. There's something lacking,
Right.
I feel. And then question it. Ask questions. It's just, I don't know. I don't have a sure certified answer for that, but I definitely believe it starts with a gut feeling, and it starts with self-love or the lack thereof. Like, the bottom line is, you should never let nobody disrespect you, you know? And if you tell somebody over and over again, like, look, I appreciate if you just don't talk to me like that, or don't treat me like that. For me, it was my mom. It could be anybody. It could be your friends. It could be the pastor. It could be your co-worker. It could be your boss. It could be the man in the grocery store behind the counter. It could be anybody.
Well, that seems kind of hard though, because, and I'm gonna tell you why. This new age right now, this new generation, it's like being called the B word. It's like
it's the norm.
Okay. Everyday language. It's like everyday language.
Norm.
And I'm like, back in the day, if a woman was called that was a fight.
Absolutely.
Now it's like, I'm that, you know, it's like, it's okay. But back then, we'd be calling Captain Jackson to come save somebody because we were trying to fight somebody calling the B word. Now
That
it's like,
part.
it's so common now to where they feel like that.
And this is why I want my facility, because I need to help the people understand that's not acceptable.
It's not okay. It's not
okay. It's not acceptable. That is not who you are.
Degrading.
Right. You're helping people degrade yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people need to know that.
Yeah.
You know, this new age technology and these reality shows make it okay. And it's not okay. It's not okay.
Imagine trying to deal with this with these young Black men. You know, it is
with the N word.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
it's like every day.
Is a killing spree.
Yeah.
You're freezing, Cap.
Captain, you freezing.
You're freezing. I know.
All of that falls under that unlearn what we've learned down, you know, and once we get it, you know, we got to do our best to pass it along, you know, like it starts with us. My nieces and nephews, I get in them. You don't allow nobody to say it to you. You don't say it to nobody. We don't do that. We don't tear each other down.
Yeah, we have
on my platform. Yeah. On my platforms on Saturdays, there's no crabs in the barrel. We don't have that crab in the barrel mentality. You know, if somebody else published a book or somebody opened up a restaurant or somebody's doing hair, I announce it on my platform. There's enough room for everybody. We're here together. We're here one for each other, one for another. And that's what I'm trying to implement. That's what I'm trying to bring back, you know? So yeah, it's hard, but it starts with one. And if I have to be that first one, then I'm going to be that first one. I may not save everybody, but I'm gonna try to save at least one body.
Yeah. And you know how too, when girls you have the younger girls who are having babies and they're like 14 or 15 years old. So when their daughter gets to the age of 14 or 15, they think they're equal to the mother because they're in this, you know, up there in age together. So they talk to each other that way. They feel that it's okay. You know, there's no respect there. you know?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, so to me, it's just a vicious cycle that has to be broken.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
and
where's
you
where's
start
the
with that teen
mom?
pregnancy. If you have
Mhm.
women who are more mature, who are older, having babies, then you don't have to worry about, you know, babies raising babies and they want to hang out with their daughters, you know, like they're their best friends and everything, instead of being a mom to them. And then you don't have to worry about them, you know, going around cussing them out and talking to them any old way. Because when my younger two were in high school, I literally used to see mothers and daughters fighting, you know, with the words just going on. And I'm like, if my daughter ever came out the mouth to me like that, she'd be picking herself up off the floor. I mean, how can you disrespect your mom that way? You know, but it's just that the mom is treating the child as if she is her equal. It's like, okay, this is my
Yeah.
daughter. We're gonna go get our nails done, get our hair done together, go hang out together.
Right.
You know, and when you start doing all that and hanging with them and everything, and it's not treating them like a child, then they lose the respect for you, and you talk to them any old way. So, but
Yeah.
Sharice, I wanted
And
to
my
ask you.
mother,
Go
and
ahead.
my mother was horrible to me, and I didn't speak to my mother that way.
Right.
I never returned verbal for verbal. I would go to my friends and talk and be mad and cuss and be angry, but I never, because I had to get it out.
Yeah.
But I never responded to my mother that same way she spoke to me. Crazy? I wouldn't be on this platform today. Because at the end of the day, that was still my mom.
Your mom. Yeah.
You
Did
know?
your mom ever tell you she loved you, or did she ever hug you?
No,
Never.
no, neither one.
Wow.
No. That's a good question, Miss Jackie. No.
You know, my dad, the first time he told me he loved me, I was 19 years old. But I remember always telling him that I loved him, but he would always say, same here. He would
Mhm.
never tell me that he loved me. And I asked him one time, I said, Dad, why don't you ever say it back to me? Why don't you ever say, I love you? He's like, I don't feel I have to say I love you. I show you that I love you by the things I do for you. And I told him, I said, sometimes people want to hear it. We don't want, you know, material things or physical things. We just want to hear those words. Just want to hear,
Yeah.
because just hearing those
Yeah.
words, I love you,
Yeah.
it means something. It makes a difference.
Yeah. No, my mother never said it. My mother never said she was proud of me. My mother never said congratulations. I graduated from high school in the 83 percentile of the graduating class. I received awards. I sat on the stage with the principal and all the elite people, you know, who come in, the city council people and all of them. My mother came to my graduation. My mother did not believe I was graduating. She didn't believe I was graduating with honors. She did not believe that. She called me stupid. I got the letter in the mail saying I was being honored at graduation, you know, and the letter had the school seal on it, right?
Mhm.
And somehow, some way, my mother felt I forged that letter and the seal, and because I'm not smart enough and nobody would be honoring me. So she came to my graduation to prove me wrong.
I will say
Who
the
does
break.
that?
Well, you know what? That's you know, we go through our parents. They're not us. And I think that by the grace of God, you were in the church for a reason. You overcame
Yes.
a lot, and you're here for a reason to be able to tell your story. And I think that's important, because your test throughout your life becomes your testimony, and that's what
Yeah.
you're doing right now. You know,
Yes.
and what they say, make your mess your message.
Yes.
So that, and that's what you've done, and you've overcome all that. You know, you're just stating what happened and now I'm good. You know,
I'm
now
good.
but I can speak on it, and you know, kudos to you, because that's a hard thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, something that my pastor would say too, he'd make this remark and he'd say, and y'all probably heard it, a setback is a setup for a comeback. And it sounds like
Yeah.
that is exactly what you were doing.
Yep.
And when you think things are falling apart, they're actually falling in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mr. Reese, for being with us. Oh,
It's an
thank you.
hour?
This was an
Oh.
amazing yes,
That
it's an
hour went by
It was
quick.
an amazing conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so very much, and continued success to you, continued healing to you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for joining us. And everybody, remember, everything you heard and everything we said was our point of view. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Go get the book. Go get the book.
Yes, get the book from Amazon.